Hey guys, welcome to the Trader's Apprentice blog, Episode 2, Introduction to TradingView. Now please note this is a fairly introductory video to TradingView. It doesn't cover everything within TradingView, but certainly covers all the most pertinent components that we use in our trading. For those more experienced traders, this video might be a little bit tedious for you. Hopefully though, there'll be a few little shortcuts and tips that you did not know prior to this. Now please note I have the Pro version of TradingView, therefore some of the attributes I show you in this video may not be applicable to the free version. Now bear with me, I'm unscripted for this one, so it's a little bit ad hoc. Let's get into it. So when you open up TradingView, you will see a screen similar to this. It'll have the candle for each period, the volume candles and an average. It may or may not have the white screen behind. I've already changed this to dark and I'll show you how to do that. One of the first things that I'll do though is, if I haven't already changed the theme to dark, I will do so. So this little cogwheel in the top right or settings menu will open up this menu, and you can change the style and colors of your candles. You can change your theme from light to dark, which I don't want to do. A lot of my trading's at night, or staring at a screen sort of hurts your eyes if it's too bright. You can change your scales from log scale and other things here, your background, bits and pieces, colors, your lines. You've got your time zones and sessions there, so Brisbane for the time zone, and events and alerts and other things here. So if I go to background here, I click on the vertical and horizontal grid lines and change them to black. It essentially makes them disappear. Now I like a nice, clean, uncluttered screen to work with. I'm not going to go into the basics of everything in this video. I'm going to assume we all know what a candlestick is and how it is relevant to each particular time period that you select. But I'm going to show you some of the menus and tricks and bits for navigating your way around TradingView. So to choose your token, you can select this little menu or entry box up here on the left hand side, and you can type in, say, BTC to the US dollar, and that'll give you Bitcoin to the dollar pairs on all of the available exchanges on TradingView. Now if I go back to ADA to BTC, what I like to do is chart on the exchange that I'm going to trade it on. Now the reason I do that is if you have a nice flat support level that you see price respecting on the ADA to Bitcoin on the Binance chart, and you're going to trade that chart, it makes a lot more sense than doing that on the Bittrex or BitMEX chart, where that price action, in my experience, tends not to behave exactly the same. So you might have that a bit more piercing through this area here, and your actual support line might be something different, okay? So you can select your tokens from entering into this menu. The next item along is the D here, that's for the daily time period. You can select minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, or you can create your own range on the premium or pro version. Now the trick I wanted to show you guys here is when I'm charting and I'm flicking between time zones, it's quite cumbersome and quite frustrating to have to open a menu and flick between the different time zones. So what I had found is, if you go into this menu and the little star beside each particular time period, if you select that star on the time periods that you tend to use the most often, you'll get yourself a nice little quick menu at the top there. So now you can go 4, 8, day, weekly, all with a very quick click of a button, which I find quite helpful. Okay, so the next item along the top toolbar menu is the candles. You can change from bars, hollow candles, lines, or anything else. Now for our purposes, we'll stick with our standard candles. That's what we know and what we're familiar with. Now you can compare different indices. You can have templates, alerts, and different replays and bits and pieces here. But what I want to focus on is how we set up our TradingView and how we use it. So the indicators menu is the next most important point for us. Now the indicators has I guess a long range of built-in indicators and oscillators. a public library of scripts and programs written by others, and you can create your own. Now, we like to keep our trading and technical analysis quite simple and classic, so we're going to select our moving averages. Now, you have moving average here, which is the simple moving average, or you have the exponential. Now, as you see on the streams, Mitch uses the moving averages, and he has the 20, the 50, and the 200. So if I click that 3 times, what you see is 3 little information bars up here, and you'll have 3 averages overlaying each other. So we want to set these up the same as Mitch does. So let's click on the little settings cogwheel next to each one of these. We change the input to 20 and our style to yellow. We change the next one to 50 and our style to purple or magenta. Yes, that's right, ladies, a boy does know magenta. Next up we have the 200 and our style is maroon or red. Okay, and then you'll see the averages as you'll see them and are familiar with them on Mitch's charts. What you'll notice here is the 200 moving average. Now we are on the day, so it is a 200-day moving average. Has only commenced midway through last month, which means that prior to that point, there were less than 200 days of Cardano being on this exchange. Now, I won't go into the details. I'm pretty sure we all know what a moving average is. It is simply the price over the number of periods divided by number of periods. So for 200, we have 200 days closing price divided by 200, which will give that first point on that 200 moving average graph. Fairly straightforward. Now the next thing we need to do is add our oscillators. So we come in here and we've got the RSI, which is the relative strength index, and we have the MACD, or the moving average convergence divergence. Whoops, it didn't select that one, sorry. MACD. That's better. Now I've got it twice. Okay. Now the RSI, we will pretty much keep the default or straight out of the box tools. What Mitch does though is change the color to yellow, so it's a lot simpler and easier to see on streams. Now the MACD, or moving average convergence divergence. Now I'll probably do another video at some point in the future on indicators, oscillators and indicators. However, this one probably does warrant a little bit of discussion. It is the indicator on the chart that most often gets the questions from audiences in stream. You know, everyone says, what's that bar chart looking thing above or below the RSI? And now they're talking about the MACD histogram. So let's talk about the histogram. What is the histogram? What is the MACD? Now I'll open up settings so it can help me describe what it is. First of all, we use the out-of-box settings, which is the 12, 26, and 9. What that means is the MACD is a moving average convergence divergence. So the MACD, or the MACD line, is the difference in price between the 12 and the 26 exponential moving averages, or EMAs. Okay, that's fairly straightforward, right? So if the EMAs are plotted on our chart, that blue line would be the difference in price between those two. Now, the other line, the orange line, is called the signal line. That signal line is a 9-period moving average of the MACD line. So the orange line here is the average price of that MACD line over the 9 periods. Okay, next up, the histogram. The histogram is quite simply the difference in price between those two lines, the MACD line and the signal line. So why do we use the histogram? Very good question. The histogram, when you think of it, is a 4th order derivative of price. So you have price, you have the EMAs, you have the MACD line, you have the signal line, and the histogram is the difference. So it's a 4th order derivative, or 4 times removed from the price. Now, I've had this argument with a lot of technical analysis and others down here in Australia, and I've fundamentally been able to prove them right through experience and showing them on the charts where the histogram is a far more sensitive indicator of momentum than anything else. A lot of guys I've seen have used the MACD line for convergence and divergence, which in some cases works out okay for them. But as you've seen in the streams from Mitch, and as you'll see myself use, the histogram, again, is far more sensitive because it's that fourth order derivative of price. So it shows the movement or the momentum a lot sooner than the other indicators do. So what do? We simply uncheck those and change our histogram to a nice bright yellow so it can be seen on the streams. And voila, you have that magic indicator that everyone's so confused about. So now our chart is set up the same as Mitch's. What do we look at next? So next we'll come along the top of this toolbar and you have unnamed here. So you can name your chart layout. You can load chart layouts. So I've got a couple of layouts there that look a bit different or have different indicators on them. Next to that, to the left, you can change from a single screen to duplicate screens where you may have different time settings for each little half screen. So you could have the 4-hour on the top and the daily down the bottom. Now, in my opinion, that looks atrocious and it'd be very difficult to do any charting on that. So as many traders will do, they will have a single layout on their chart but use multiple screens. Okay, we've been through the settings tools. That's your basic settings for setting up your chart. Another quick way to get to the settings is right-clicking, and you have most of those things there too. So you can change to your price scale to log scale with a right click of your mouse in the chart there. So next we move over to the right here and we have a large information bar. The top part of that information bar is your watch lists. The second part is the details of your particular token or coin that you're looking at, including the day's range and the technical analysis as given by TradingView. Next, you'll have news and headlines for ADA. What do I do with those two bits of information? I simply hide them away because they are unnecessary and cause more clutter. That leaves me with my watch list. So I have a number of watch lists. This watch list is called my top 100. I tend to try to prioritize my trading to the top 100 because that's where the highest volume and the most liquidity is for each coin. So you tend to have less slippage on your order fills, your stop losses and other order mechanisms there. Now, if I open up the little menu beside your watch list here, you have create watch list, save as, rename, import, etc., etc. And then you have your watch list. The flag list I'll show you later, it's just a highlight list. I have a number of Australian Stock Exchange lists there. I have my BitMEX list for when I want to short in BitMEX Exchange. I have Ethereum pairs. I have a main list, I have a tether list, and I have the top 100. So to create a new list, you open that menu, you create new list, and you call it video blog, and you start with a blank list. So to add to that list, you simply type in your symbol into this box. So ADA, for example. Again, I want to reiterate that I will generally select the exchange I'm going to trade that on. So Binance Exchange. Let's pick a few others. VeChain, Binance, Neo on Binance, and everyone's favorite, Tron Connect on Binance. Now you'll see that there's a little flags or little red flags beside each of these at the moment. You can click and unclick these as necessary. So the reason these exist is if you have 7 or 8 different watch lists and you're scanning through your watch list each day and you find things that you want to highlight to, I guess, have a daily trade setup watch list, you then click that, open up this and click your flag list. And these are the tokens or coins that I have flagged or highlighted, which may be on my list for the day to keep an eye out for potential trade setups. You can remove from this by unclicking the flag or by clicking remove, the little X, the red X. So that's how we manage our lists, our watch lists, and you can set up as many or as little of those as you choose. Now, to the right of that menu, you have a number of menus down the side here, which a lot of these are social media type interaction menus with TradingView itself. So you can follow people, you can get notifications and messages from people you may or may not follow. You can publish your own ideas. You can see one there. It was a trade setup that we published privately and gave you guys the link so no one else can see that. But the two menus you're going to use most are your watch lists and your alerts. So if you click this little alarm clock, that shows you your alert menu. Now I've got a number of alerts set up here for particular reasons that I might be watching for. Now let's just show you how to set up an alert. If you're looking for Cardano here to come back down and bounce off this support here, you might set yourself an alert just before that point to, I guess, give you an alarm to tell you to do something, to force you into action, I guess. So let's set one up. Say we want to pick a position here around the 2020 sat mark. You right click, you select add alert. You can actually fine tune that to the price that you wanted by selecting up or down. Options you can have once only or every time, so that means price will move past your alarm once and you'll get one alarm, or price will alarm every time price moves through that price that you've selected. You can have an expiration time on your alarm, and the general or default settings are a pop-up message and a sound that this computer will play for you. You can send yourself an email or an SMS, but I haven't got the SMS to work, probably because this is US based. So once you're happy with all your settings, you hit create, and that will now turn that line into a red dotted line where your alarm will be. So as price comes down and touches that point, you will get a notification. Should you want to move that, the easiest way is to click it and drag it to move it up and down, and it'll ask you to save it again. To delete, you can select it from your list over here on the right, hit the X or delete it, or you can click it again and drag it and simply delete it from the pop-up menu there. Yes. That's pretty simple, pretty basic, but I find that when you're watching a trade set up and you're doing other things on your computer or you're scanning other charts, those alarms come in very, very handy. And you've seen Mitch use them on streams too to notify him of price action of Bitcoin, for example. Okay, so next up, we'll go through some of the tools on the left-hand side. So these are your charting tools. The first one is generally your straight lines and parallel channels and things. The next menu has pitchforks, garns, your fib retracements, and a few other bits and pieces. Then you have generic shape type tools, followed by text tools and annotation type tools. Then you have your cipher patterns, head and shoulders, and Elliott wave tools. Then you have your long, short, and price data range and date range tools, and a myriad of other bits and pieces which you'll probably never use. Now, what I wanted to show you most of all is not how to use a trend line to draw a trend line. I'm pretty sure we all know that. But something I've found as a nice little shortcut similar to the time periods above is for the tools that you use the most, again, you can select a little favorite star, and I'll select the ones I use the most, the trend line, the horizontal line, parallel channel, and my nice little fib retracement tool. And what that does is creates another little shortcut box for you, which you can position anywhere in your chart, but I like it here under the menus for the indicators. Again, it just saves you going through the menus to click and select the most pertinent things that you may choose to use. Okay, just for examples. Okay, I'm not going to go through the tools individually. If anyone has any further questions on those, they can hit me up on Discord. But one thing I did want to leave you guys with is a bit of an aha moment for myself. Okay, so my aha moment occurred on a stream when I saw Mitch draw and mention how to draw the fib retracement. I've seen fibs drawn backwards, sideways, upside down, and every other which way you can imagine. The aha moment for me was when Mitch said on stream that you always go from left to right. So you treat the fibs like you're typing text or writing in a book. If you're going from the lowest low to the highest high, you always pick what is on the left and go to what is on the right. That will get your retracement percentages in the correct order. And the same applies from going from high to low. You always go from left to right, and that will get your retracement in the correct order. Now, the last couple of things I want to show you. I've got a little tip here for our illustrious leader. It's always nice for the apprentice to give back to his master. So let's just assume, for example's sake, that we have a nice descending triangle here. Now obviously there's too much white space, we don't have enough touches, but for the purpose of the exercise, let's assume that we've got a nice perfect shape there. Now when Mitch draws the measured moves, he will select the price range tool and go from the low to the high of the shape, and he'll calculate the 618 sats, and then he'll grab the tool again and find a estimated breakout point, and then go and pick the 618 again and try and kind of get that on the right spot, so like there. Okay, which can take a little bit of mucking around, as you see. A tip for my illustrious master is when you draw the first one, simply click or grab that grey line top and bottom, and you can click and move that to your position. So where your breakout position is, you just click and move, the sat value is already automatically there, and just saves you a couple of extra steps. Lastly, a couple more quick pointers. You'll see on our trade setups that we set up a long position and we set up short positions, both much the same. So you target your entry with the first point there, you set your stop loss value to where you believe there might be support or resistance, and you select a target which may be the measured move. That will give you your risk percentage, that'll give you your reward or gain target percentage, and your risk to reward ratio. Now I'm going to do a video in the future which ties in a bit more with the psychology of trading and risk to reward, and I'll focus on these a little bit more at that point. I just wanted to show you how we get this set up on our trade setups. Now one last thing before I sign off. When you draw any kind of line, shape, or anything, let's call it a horizontal ray, just for example, you can right click on that and you can go to format and you can change your colors and all the other things, but you can write text. So if you have a entry target, for example, you can write a bit of text there, and it didn't show up. Why did that not show up? Show text, there you go. You got to click the text button, my bad. Okay, and then you'll have an entry position there. You can position the text anywhere you like, center, left, right, or whatever. Let's just say I put it on the left there. Now let's say you want to use this multiple times for target entry points. What you can then do is right click on that, you can go to format, and you can save this as a template. Now I've already got one there called entry, okay, but you can save any of your little drawing tools or setups and colors with descriptions as templates. Now I have a number of these here, one for entry, one for stop loss, and one for target, support, resistance. And I'll show you how they work. So if I just grab that tool again, the horizontal ray, I draw my horizontal ray, it's currently blue. If I want it to be a stop loss position, I can click that and it changes it to the color I selected for a stop loss. I can click that again, and I can put that up here. I can go to template by clicking this little box up here, which is part of the active drawing tools, and you can go to target, and it changes it to green with the word target. And it's just a nice little feature that you can have. You can set up templates for horizontal rays, horizontal lines, and some of these other tools. Just a nice little tip to sign off on, and I hope you all got something from this video. Please give me some feedback in Discord, or hit me up with anything else you want me to cover, either with TradingView or anything else in other videos in the future. Thank you all, and look forward to the next episode. Thanks.